Okay, we'll start with this. Ryan Garcia vows to redeem himself if a rematch with Rolly Romero materializes. Ryan Garcia is convinced. A rematch with Rolly would unfold completely different from how their fight went this past May 2nd in New York. Romero dropped Garcia with a left hook in the second round, took away Garcia's vaunted left hook, and upset him by unanimous decision in the main event of the ring's card at Times Square. Representatives for Manny Pacquiao have discussed fighting for Romero's WBA welterweight title sometime early next year, but Garcia explained during the newest episode of Inside the Ring that his team is also in talks to secure an opportunity to redeem himself in a rematch.
If Ryan were as good as some people thought he was, he wouldn't need a rematch with a Rolly Romero. They used to say 5 or 6 years ago that Ryan Garcia has all the makings of an Oscar de la Hoya, this generation's.
Maybe if they're talking about spiraling out of control and substance abuse, those things, they're not talking about boxing.
Don't forget that for all of Oscar's drawbacks, he was an Olympic gold medalist as an amateur, and he was a 5-weight world champion as a professional. Ryan Garcia is nowhere near accomplishing those feats.
I've been chasing him down for my rematch, Garcia said. Alex Pereira lost his UFC fight with Magomed Ankalaev. I know it's MMA, but guess what? He said he knew something about himself that if he gets his rematch, he's gonna do the job. And that's how, like I feel. If I get my rematch, I'm gonna do the job how I was supposed to do the first time around. Co-host Max Kellerman jokingly asked Garcia if he would prepare properly for a second fight with Romero. I might train a little, laughing, Garcia said. There was just little other things that were happening. I was a little unhealthy, but guess what? If I come back, I know I'm going to do a job. Kellerman mentioned how Romero neutralized Garcia's left hook in a fight he won by scores of 118-109, 115-112 2 times. I just wasn't sharp, Garcia said to Kellerman, co-host Mike Coppinger, and the fellow panelist, LaShawn McCoy. Even my left hook wasn't sharp. Let me have a bad day.
Why wasn't he sharp? The year of inactivity in the build-up could have had something to do with that, but guess what?
What?
He's sitting out the rest of this year, too. So when he comes back, what assurances are there that he's going to be sharp?
Garcia was an 11-1 favorite to beat Romero, but he looked like a shell of himself in his first fight in more than a year. The Victorville Volva native underwent surgery to repair bone and ligament damage to his right hand 3 weeks after he lost to Romero. Garcia, 27, credited Romero for his power and awkwardness. He still doesn't think Romero would beat Pacquiao despite the Filipino superstar turning 47 before they might fight.
So there's a year in between the Devin Haney fight and the Rolly Romero fight, and in all likelihood there will be another year of inactivity in between the Rolly fight and Ryan's next fight.
So how's he supposed to come back better? How is he supposed to come back sharper?
For certain matchups, he gives people hell, Garcia said of Romero. That's it. Tank was having a hard time with him. Obviously, he had a challenge with him, so it's like certain people that are used to fighting people that are conventional or even really good fighters, I can fight against. It's sometimes like in a certain matchup, Romero's style gives people problems. Now, do I think he has the style to give Pacquiao problems? I don't think so, because Pacquiao, he's kind of one of those guys that get in there anyways. He's always going to be pressuring you. He's always going to be looking for combinations. That's not really me. I'm more of a sharpshooter. Can't sharpshoot against somebody that fights weird. I don't know what he's doing half the time, but I know what I should do.
Take more pets?
I'm not gonna say.
Take better pets. Hard to say whether or not Ryan Garcia will get his chance at redemption when Rolly is otherwise preoccupied with the potentiality of a Manny Pacquiao fight set to go down early next year. But the truth of it is that loss to Rolly Romero is the most damning indictment against Ryan Garcia and his boxing. That if you're a world-class fighter, you don't lose to Rolly Romero. You just don't.
We don't have to overanalyze it. We don't have to overthink it. If you're a world-class fighter, you don't lose to Rolly. I'd put good money up that Shakram Gayasov beats Rolly, Suleiman Sissoko beats Rolly, Brian Norman.
The whole reason a WBA manufactured a title for Rolly and Ryan to fight for is so that they wouldn't have to fight the other welterweights. Because if they did, that's what would happen. Any and every solid welterweight beats Rolly Romero, and they beat Ryan too.
They had to carve out a lane for them.
I don't actually care if Ryan does or doesn't get his shot at redemption. I don't actually care about Ryan Garcia's boxing career, because bear in mind, we're talking about a guy who lost to Rolly.
Do you understand that? We're talking about a guy not good enough to beat a Rolly Romero, so who gives a fuck?
Well, one, Triple G had no really great victories. I mean, who did he beat? You know,
well, Canelo. A lot of people think he won the first fight. It was a draw, and Canelo's a great fighter.
Well, he didn't, though, but he didn't.
We can think all
even
we
a draw against Canelo at Canelo's best, you know?
The thing what I will give him, though, is he was one of the superstars in boxing at a certain time for a long time. I will give him that. But for me, I think it's just a little hard for me to put somebody in the Hall of Fame. Like, to say Hall of Fame, that means, like, dang, like, you
What
you
about
just did
telling the
different.
story of the era? You could not tell the story of an era without including Triple G.
That's 2010s, right?
What about that? Do you subscribe to that Hall of Fame theory?
I do. I mean, I do see that, but we're talking about Hall of Fame. We're not talking about eras. You know, I'm talking about, like, overall, all of boxing. You know what I mean? I just don't see him as a Hall of Fame. Yeah, I can't give him that nod. But, hey.
That's a legitimate point of view.
I wish Turkey was around back then when he was fighting, because all this ducking wouldn't have happened.
We find out.
I really liked that last boxing take, that if Turki El Al-Sheikh were around during that period where Gennady was avoided by everybody, by Quillen, by Saunders, by Eubank,
He probably would have finished out his career with an even more robust body of work. Listen, it's a question I've asked myself. Did Gennady Golovkin really have a Hall of Fame career?
I mean, I've asked that question here on the panel during the live streams several times and had some spirited debates about it, but it just comes off as different from Ryan. Ryan, who's competed at 135, competed at 140, now at 147, and this guy has yet to win a title at any of these weights, but he's got the gall. Being so confident, berating someone who is so much more competent, so much more capable than he is. Gennady Golovkin's resume, well, it's not spotless and it ain't perfect, but it is better than Ryan's.
3 fundamental points that might count towards Gennady Golovkin's Hall of Fame status is that he did rack up quite a few consecutive title defenses. A record that is overblown by the pundits since they count defenses of the regular title with defenses of the full title.
I don't agree with that. I believe that 5 or 6 of those defenses were defenses of a WBA Reggie title, a Reggie belt, like the one Gervonta Davis held at lightweight for about 5 years. I don't count those defenses towards Gennady Golovkin's record, but he does still have a lot of defenses of the full WBA title when he became full WBA champion. Not only that, he did unify 3 of the 4 major titles at the weight. He did pick up the IBF title and the WBC title along the way, and after he lost them,
he did get 1 or 2 of them back. Don't forget that Gennady is a 2-time middleweight champion and a 2-time unified champion.
So title defenses count towards his Hall of Fame accord. Being a unified champion counts as well, and his drawing power, because remember, Gennady Golovkin was a decent-sized draw. Sold out more than once in the United States and in the United Kingdom when he fought Kell Brook.
His 3 fights with Canelo Alvarez, all 3 sold in excess of 1 million pay-per-views. All 3.
And that's the stuff that counts towards Gennady Golovkin's Hall of Fame ballot. I think what counts against it for a lot of people is that he could have taken care of Demetrius Andrade, and he chose not to. I want to go on record as saying that I absolutely believe Gennady would have mangled Demetrius Andrade. He would have beat the fuck out of that guy. But that's what irritates me. that I think he would have beat the fuck out of that guy, but he didn't fight him.
Remember, there was a period after the Canelo fights that Gennady was a world champion at middleweight, and so was Demetrius. Demetrius had the WBO.
There was a window of opportunity there for Gennady Golovkin to unify titles with him, but he instead chose to sit out and wait for Ryota Murata, who was also a champion at the time, WBA champion. And it wasn't an either-or situation. In the time that it took to finally make Golovkin versus Murata, Gennady could have fought Demetrius in between, and I've no doubts he would have won that fight. He would have beat the shit out of Demetrius. So I'm kind of angry that he didn't do that, and I'm kind of angry that he didn't fight Lara. Remember that after he fights Ryota Murata, beats him and stops him, becomes unified champion, Lara was his mandatory via the WBA.
Remember that the fight between them got ordered, and remember that Gennady bowed out without satisfying that order. That's another fight that I think Gennady would have won, which is what pisses me off, that he left that unfinished business unfinished when he could have won.
Just imagine how much better Gennady's resume would look like at the end of his career if the name of Demetrius was on there and the name of Lara was on there. If he would have tied up those loose ends, I would feel a lot better, and I would feel that the case were a lot stronger for him to be inducted into the Boxing Hall of Fame. As it is,
I think he's gonna get in. I've already seen one or two individuals on the voting panel cast their vote for Gennady Golovkin. I believe it was Dougie Fisher and Dan Rafael.
I believe he's going to get in there. Just focusing on Ryan Garcia's comments, Ryan Garcia's criticisms. I understand where he's coming from, but because it's coming from him,
it just sounds a certain way. Sounds a certain way from what is a very unserious person, an unprofessional person.
I guess it's okay to question whether or not Gennady Golovkin's career was Hall of Fame worthy, but it just sounds a certain way coming from Ryan, who, when his career is over, is he gonna have a Hall of Fame career? Is that how Ryan Garcia's career is going? To where when he retires, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer? I don't think so.
Ben Shalom has unearthed the talent, backed it, and this is the reward that you get. But, ultimately, if he can't deliver what Whitaker thinks are the outcomes for him, show me the money nonsense that perhaps tells you where the mindset is.
Yeah.
Because you're going to need more than just being paid here to become the light heavyweight champion of the world, because you're in a division with some serious people in there, some serious fighters, including Anthony Yard, including Beterbiev, including Bivol, including Callum Smith and a variety of other people, Josh Boatzy and whoever else. And Ben Whitaker right now is more style than substance. But there's a belief that the substance will find its level, and ultimately the showmanship and the character and all the personality is good. He's a different animal. He's not what people think Ben Whitaker is. He isn't a flash little sod. He's actually quite a considered, well-mannered, presentable, forward-thinking, moderately young man.
But do you want a fighter who's more style than substance?
I want both.
Yeah.
So right now he can't be. I mean, up until this point, people have been, because of the nature of how he's catapulted himself into the public conscious, right, with the manner in which he fights. It's created an opinion on him. There's only one thing worse than people talking about you, is people not talking about you. Mm-hmm. And people talk about Whitaker because he's been nowhere, done nothing, and seen nothing in the professional game. But look at the noise. Look at the attention that surrounds him. Now, obviously, Eddie is like a cuckoo. He's sat on the side. He's been touting an opportunity to get him, and that's because Matchroom are more powerful than Boxer.
I saw Simon Jordan's reaction to Matchroom's signing of Ben Whitaker early this morning, and I agreed with a lot of what he said. He doesn't seem all that enthused about it, but there are those out there who feel that he's not enthused for some other reason, that Simon has his ulterior motives. JJ on Twitter said, "Why does Simon Jordan seem so upset, offended by Whitaker going to Matchroom? He seems oddly fired up about it." Rocky Ali said, "You can see the demeanor and narrative change now Whitaker's joint Matchroom. It also shows how out of touch Simon is. They are already making noise together. No one needs to be told he has to deliver in the ring because it's obvious and applies to every fighter." Simon Jordan, yet again, talking absolute nonsense. Unearthed a talent? When Ben Whitaker was the silver Olympic medalist and the most coveted Olympian, Boxer only got him in the first place as they doubled Matchroom's offer at the last minute.
People are starting to notice that Simon Jordan is raining on Eddie Hearn and Matchroom's parade now that they've acquired Ben Whitaker.
I think it was a year ago, I remember hearing that Simon Jordan had become invested in Boxer, that he had become a silent partner. So a lot of the time, when he's taking shots at Eddie Hearn and when he's taking shots at Matchroom, that was the motivation. I remember hearing that. I don't know if that was ever confirmed, that Simon partnered up with Boxer. But if he did, that would explain his less than enthusiastic demeanor towards Matchroom's biggest signing.
Though I consider it a sign of intelligence if you are able to extrapolate what is true, irrespective of why it's being said.
What Simon Jordan is saying, irrespective of why he's saying it, is it true or not? Is Ben Whitaker, at this time, more style than substance? And I have to agree with Simon. Ben Whitaker is about 10 fights into his professional boxing career, and he's already had an early scare with Liam Cameron. Right now, he seems more of a showman.
And that has its virtues. In only 10 professional fights, he's already had 2 or 3 viral moments that have endeared him to some people.
This is all based on his stylized shenanigans in the ring under the hot lights, but these shenanigans are coming against gatekeepers and journeymans and no-hopers, guys that are there to give you a couple of rounds, guys that really aren't there to win, so you can't read too much into that. And we don't know, just 10 fights into Ben's young boxing career, that he has what it takes to go all the way. Because like Simon said, there are some serious fighters, serious no-nonsense guys at light heavyweight right now. Artur Beterbiev, Dmitry Bivol.
Try that shit with them.
Try it with Joshua Buatsi. Try it with Anthony Yard. Try it with David Morrell and David Benavidez and Imam Katayev. Try it!
Try it with Vosdik. See how it goes.
Irrespective of what could be Simon Jordan's ulterior motives, he's not wrong, is he? If he is invested in Boxer in the haphazard state that they're currently in, they inked a deal with BBC, and before they even do their first show,
they lost one of their flagship fighters.
Yeah, that might be reason for Simon to be upset, but what he said, it still holds true. It still stands up to scrutiny that Ben Whitaker, Eddie and Ben did a little promo video yesterday recreating that classic scene between Cuba Gooding Jr. and Tom Cruise in Jerry Maguire. Show me the money?
Ben Whitaker wants Eddie Hearn to show him the money. Likely already did, which is how he got him over there. But being successful, it doesn't all boil down to Eddie showing Ben the money. Now Ben
has to show and prove. He has to show that he's worth the money, that he's worth it. I have my own skepticism and reservations as to how Ben Whitaker's career will go, depending on who he encounters along the way to an alphabet title. My honest opinion is he needs to tread carefully.
Very.
Needs to put the baton and the top hat away, bite down on his gum shield, buckle down, and get serious, because things can get real bad, real fast, at light heavyweight.
They almost did with Liam Cameron. So just imagine if he encounters what else is out there.
Who else is out there? I'm not rooting for Ben Whitaker to fail. I'm just saying he needs to get serious, work on his craft.
I want to see more serious performances from this guy.